So the other day, me and a good friend of mine, Luke, were talking about games we hadn't played in a while, and one that came to mind was actually one of my most hyped up games of 2023. And that game was Mortal Kombat 1, the first traditional fighting game I got for the purpose of playing with my online friends. I enjoyed my time with it, put a good amount of hours in, and I would say about a month or two in, me and my friends moved on to other things. Probably Overwatch 2 PvE. Oh, god damn it! And I don't think it's because the game is bad. Most games people don't talk about as much generally aren't bad. They just come from a lack of significance in the game's longevity. And I want to talk about that today because I was genuinely curious why I stopped caring about the game and seeing why others feel the same. I'll try to break this video down into 3 sections: the lead up to the game and a bit about the game, some points of contention on why no one plays or has interest in the game anymore, and how NetherRealm Studios could make a sequel improve from MK1's pitfalls. I hope you guys enjoy this video. So let's discuss, why has Mortal Kombat 1 lost all its momentum? If we're going to talk about the lead up to Mortal Kombat 1, we'll need to start from the beginning. Chapter 1. Early Gaming. In the year 1958, the first... Okay, I'm not gonna pull a video essay and start way too early. But let's start with Mortal Kombat 11, the game that came out before MK1 and the game that got me back into the franchise. I had played a bit of MK9 and MK Trilogy on the N64 with my mom a lot, but this was the first game I got in the franchise for myself. I enjoyed playing this game. I was never that good. I played one online game, got rock and docked by a collector main, and never again. But even if I didn't do a lot of the fighting in the fighting game, I just enjoyed the side content like walking around the crypt and unlocking stuff. I just like when fighting games take a backseat and have something else besides the fighting. Whether that be having an island to walk around or a puzzle and chess game for some reason. Variety is the spice of life, and I like when these extra bonuses are added to games. All of this is to say, I think Mortal Kombat 11 is a good game. If you don't count the story, that was really bad, I can't lie. But around the time I finished MK11's story mode, I saw that NetherRealm Studios was making a new Mortal Kombat game called Mortal Kombat 1. Why is it called that? Who cares? I was just excited that my new interest was getting a new game. I loved learning new stuff about this game. The new designs for the characters, seeing characters I never knew existed from the middle years of the franchise, and I was pissed they put my guy Cyrox on the sidelines and cut Nightwolf, my other main, but I could not wait for this game. They announced all their DLC characters in Combat Pack 1 before the game even came out. That was a choice. I mean, I bought it anyway. So I got the game, I played the story mode, and I played with my friends. Mike Mason.
Bitch.
Bruh.
What am I supposed to do there?
And what do I think of it? Yeah, it's a good game. There's just some things I don't really care about. Towers, of course, make a return in this game, but besides that, and a new game mode that replaced the crypt, Invasions, there's not much to do outside of just fighting people online and the story mode if you're into that part of the series. The game didn't launch with crossplay, which really sucked, and while the story mode is actually pretty good to start with, towards the last few chapters, it rapidly lost my interest. Invasions... I'll actually talk about Invasions later. And worst of all, they changed Kano's design. He no longer looks like J-Schlatt. But the game is functionally good. If you want a Mortal Kombat game, you get a Mortal Kombat game. And a competent one at that. Like I said, I love the characters and their new designs, mostly. I especially love the maps and the transitions from beginning of the match banter to the map you fight on. I still think stuff like that is really cool. And of course, I love... You just got caged! Oh, you son of a... You just got caged! Johnny's my main in this game, and I love him so much. I, and coincidentally, my friend dressed up as him for Halloween. But those were my thoughts on the game at launch. Now it's time to find out why I, and most other people, don't care about this game anymore. The points of contention. I'll use this section of the video to point out what I think the reasons are for the longevity of the player base falling off. One that comes to mind first is the cameo system. Introduced in Mortal Kombat 1, you select 2 characters, your main character and a cameo that acts as a resource meter that you can use during battle. Initially, I didn't have a problem with cameos, but the more I think about it, the more it upsets me a lot, actually. Not the idea itself, I think it would make for a good side game mode, but that's the issue. It's not a side mode, it's the main and only mode you can play. My issues come down to not having the choice. Want to play with cameos? Sure. Don't want to? Have the option to turn it off. But the game doesn't have that. I also find it strange that they added cameos for the reboot. Reboots are generally meant to ease new players into your game, and that usually means keeping things simple. And then after you've established this new game with a new audience, then you add the more complicated / gimmicky things. So while the cameo system does annoy me, it really is only for the fact that you can't play without them. I know you could technically not play with them because you control the buttons you press, but that really is more house rules that people have to agree on. This decision has definitely split the Mortal Kombat fandom, so best case scenario, the choice is divided, and at worst, a good majority of the people don't like it. And that's just one of the bigger complaints I've seen thrown at this game, and I don't think the people who didn't like it will be staying long after launch. Another one is invasions. This is another thing looking back on, wasn't the greatest. It just isn't that fun to go through, I'm gonna be honest. It's just like a bare bones Mario Party board you walk around doing 1v1 fights with wacky gimmicks sometimes. Now imagine doing this over and over and over and over again, all just for a skin. The map and skin you get changes like every few months with different lore, but after trying the first season, I could not care to come back to it. This is just not something you make an endless mode about. At least World of Light, for as flawed as that game mode is, doesn't have you go on for a prolonged journey. There's at least an end to it. Invasions just also doesn't have a lot of charm like Ultimate does, but that's not going towards my complaints, I'm just a Nintendo shill. I imagine Invasions was meant to be the game mode the devs imagined you'd keep going back to if you got tired of online matches, but there's just not a lot of substance to it. I came back to it for this video, and I just couldn't make it through the first 4 fights without feeling incredibly uninterested in what the game mode has to offer. I can't imagine too many MK fans were excited this replaced the Crypt. I'll talk about some ideas I think could improve this for the next game if they decide to bring it back, but that will be for the next segment of the video. But for now, I want to quickly bring up another reason, being they didn't release crossplay from the start. I can say from experience, this definitely halted some momentum for me. Now, in the grand scheme of things, this is not that big of a deal. This wouldn't affect people who exclusively play against people online and don't really care about playing against their friends. But honestly, that's what keeps me coming back to a game. I had a friend, let's call him S. Anyway, my friend Saturn didn't have a PS5, the console I bought MK1 on, so he bought it on PC just to try the game out and play through the story mode dressed up as Johnny Cage, but to also eventually play with me and a few others when crossplay was released. They did eventually add crossplay around February of 2024, about 5 months after the game release. 5 months is not that long, but some other issues led to the fact that when they did add crossplay, no one was there to really try it out. Players had already dipped at that point. And not only that, but in order to use crossplay, you have to make a WB account to connect to in order to play crossplay. This is like the #1 thing you don't do if you want to do crossplay. Just take a look at when Helldivers 2 did that. That also almost stopped that game's momentum. 99% of people are not going to be persuaded to create a WB account just to play with randoms on the Nintendo Switch version. Oh yeah, the Nintendo Switch version. Why is that a thing? It's just dumb. No one wants to make an account, especially a WB account. TLDR, too little, too late for this feature. And for my final point of contention, I want to bring up how NetherRealm Studios' release format for its DLC is hurting its longevity in the gaming landscape. Now let's quickly go over how NetherRealm Studios does their DLC. What they tend to do is reveal all the characters they have for the current combat pack all at once, all at the beginning. They have no surprise for the audience, and I truly think this format is why Mortal Kombat 1 lost a lot of its momentum. Think about it. DLC is one of the best ways to keep a game alive in the community and the gaming sphere in general, especially fighting games with new characters being the most hyped things about it. Travis Scott? The speculation of who the next fighter will be brings discussion from many people from the fandom, and while sure, you get your hype reveals of your Omni-Mans and Homelanders all in one shot, but the way they're doing it now, the question people will be asking is not who the next fighter is going to be, rather it's when is the next fighter going to be released. It takes away a core element of what is fun about discussing these games, the surprise. For example, imagine Smash Ultimate announced all their DLC characters before the game launched, saying, we're adding Joker, Hero, Banjo and Kazooie, Harry Bogard, and the 5th one to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I'm sure people would have been hyped. and then the hype will slowly dwindle because there's nothing new to talk about. All you can really do is wait for the next pack and wait for that surprise. Not to mention, Kombat Pack 2 Chaos Reigns is being sold for $50. Now while yes, Kombat Pack 1 sold for about $30 and Kombat Pack 2 has a second story mode, that pricing will definitely make returning players unwilling to spend over half the game's original asking price on DLC. And I'm not saying that you have to make it cheaper, but this kinda sucks for people who just want the characters and don't care about the story mode, and while you can buy characters separately, they will cost about the same as Kombat Pack 2. So it just kinda sucks you can't buy a bundle without the story mode for a cheaper price. Anyway, the point here I'm trying to make is when you reveal characters one by one, you'll be in the public eye more. Darth Vader! And also $50 DLC will make a lot of people uninterested. So that's what I think lost MK1's momentum. And even with all that said, I still like MK1 to an extent. That friend I was talking about earlier, Luke, we ended up playing MK1 again because we just wanted to see what was up with it. And while I still think all the stuff I said about the game is true to how I feel, once I actually popped in the game and started playing with my friend, I had a good time. Like I said, it's a competent Mortal Kombat game. It's only the fact though that if me and my friend were talking about games we hadn't played in a while, I would have never gone back to this game on my own time. So while Mortal Kombat 1 is a good game, it's not a game I'm gonna constantly keep going back to like other fighting games. And I'll be honest, I'd rather spend my time playing other games like Marvel Rivals or I don't know, Overwatch 2. But seeing as these games come out every 4 years, if its track record is to be believed, MK2, or whatever they're gonna call it, my bet is on Mortal Kombat Switch Up. It means the next game will probably come around 2027, which means NetherRealm Studios has 2 years to listen to me give them pointers on how to make the game better. But let's be real here though, my ideas for how to make a sequel better are gonna be just as flawed as NetherRealm Studios' ideas for MK1. This is just to throw my thoughts out there, and my ideas aren't set in stone, just a rough idea and a path they could take for a sequel. And if you have any suggestions on how you'd make a sequel better, keep it to yourself, I don't want to hear it. So for the final part of the video, let's talk about how I would improve on a sequel. Let's cover my points of contention first, and I'll add on a few ideas I've been cooking. First one was the cameo system. This one is simple, just let us be able to play without cameos or with if we want. Some of my other ideas is that every playable character is also a cameo. Each fighter would have a main moveset and then a cameo moveset. MK1 also dabbled with this, but it was generally other characters from the franchise. I would also like the idea of a tag team game mode where your cameo will act as your second character in round 2, and in the tiebreaker you can either have a third character selected or pick one of the first two. Not a concrete idea, just something to expand upon the cameo system. Invasions. Invasions is the alternative to story mode and regular battles, and I'd argue it does neither well. All Invasions really is to me is a glorified skill tree where numbers go up with weird power-ups. And I think the thing I dislike the most about the game mode, to be honest, is the goddamn map. I don't know why they gave the map to Invasions. Honestly, I think it would have worked better in story mode, so that there's a map that strings along the story rather than it being exclusively cutscenes and fights. It would add a bit more depth to that mode. Personally, I just don't like the map, but if it were to be repurposed, I think story mode is where it should go. I think if the crypt from MK11 and Invasions combined, with the crypt's open areas to explore with puzzles to do and having some fights to unlock concept art, costumes, etc., it can make for a more entertaining side mode alternative. And I'm sorry, I'm sure people like it, but I think the Invasion/Crypt would work way better if it was a slightly more fleshed out experience that has an end goal in mind, than for it to be an ongoing grind for cosmetics with a new season coming like every 3 months or so. It works for a lot of games like Fortnite and other free-to-play games, but not Mortal Kombat. And this may be my Nintendo side showing, but if they were to make stat boosts like stickers to collect like Subspace Emissary, that would make the grind slightly better. People don't like number games, but they sure do love to collect random stuff. Here's another simple one. Crossplay just has to be there from the start, I'm telling you. And preferably, we don't have to make a WB account to access it. And I know, everything in game making takes time, but if it means we wait a bit longer to have these features from the start, I'll take it. And finally, from my main points, the DLC dilemma. I think if they don't want to rid of their usual method of revealing everyone, maybe a compromise they could do is they could reveal all the Mortal Kombat characters at the start, and let people know that there will be 3 guest characters coming. That way, both sides get what they want. I mean, let's be real here, gaming Twitter is not going to care if they add Mokap to Mortal Kombat Switch Up, but if they hold the reveal for, let's say, Deathstroke, Pennywise, or I don't fucking know, William Afton, it will have hype reveal moments of Mortal Kombat all throughout the year, instead of sometime in like June. I mean, how much cooler would Ghostface be of a reveal if he was announced during October? Would set people in a good mood for a Halloween guest character rather than in goddamn July. Those are all what I think they can improve, but I want to discuss a few ideas on things I didn't have a big problem with, but I thought it would be interesting to put in the sequel. I briefly talked about the story mode of this game, and while I do think the beginning was good, the ending was so mishandled. Early on in the game, it was revealed that Chronica from the old timeline of MK1 was still alive, but it turns out to be an alternate universe Shang Tsung taking her appearance, and So my suggestion for the next game, keep it simple. It doesn't need to be so simple as the first Mortal Kombat tournament between Earth Realm and Shadow Realm. But all I really want is for them to tell a story with its main universe characters they have. Something cool they did that I'll actually give NetherRealm Studios credit for is that after the game was released, they added animalities for each character. And while I think that's really cool for this game, I would really love if they brought back friendships from MK11. Not all of these are going to be complaints, it's just if having different finishers are on the table, these are the ones I think would be cool to return. I just really like the MK11 friendships, they're just really funny. Another thing they could do is add a few game modes. Nothing too crazy, but just some fun stuff like be able to use the old invasion gimmicks in actual local matches, or make up new ones like random swapping, where you and your opponent select 4 characters and you swap between them periodically. That's just a fun idea I thought of, and it's just to show that NetherRealm Studios needs to make fun and creative arcade game modes if they want to keep their game afloat. Next up is the monetization. Let's be honest, they're gonna keep having microtransactions in these games. That's just how games are these days. Maybe make the dragon crystals easier to unlock in game without having to spend money, well, that's honestly just wishful thinking. But yeah, if they keep the microtransactions in the sequel, pray it stays for cosmetics and not like easy fatalities or something. Wait, what do you mean that's actually a thing? Why do you have to buy that with real money? Now that was a lot of me talking about what I wanted them to change, but to finish up this video, I want to talk about things the game does right and things I don't think they really need to change. Practice mode is really good, the tutorials are really fun to complete, and they help spark combo ideas for new players. This is the best the Mortal Kombat franchise has looked in my opinion, no complaints with the look of the game. The characters look great, the map and the environments look amazing, it's the best. Beginning of the match banter still holds up really well. This is the stuff people will still come back to check out what new interactions there are. I love the stage variety and selection in this game, even if almost all of them are in service of the story mode. They also got really creative with a lot of their fatal blow and fatalities, and all the hits for these feel so impactful, especially with the sound design, they killed it with that. And like I said, this is a competent Mortal Kombat game. And not all of this rambling is coming from hate. It's just Mortal Kombat does hold a lot of sentimental value with me over the years, and I would hate for this series to go down in infamy because of some ideas that didn't work out that well. I am very optimistic that NetherRealm Studios will see what people were displeased about with MK1 and use that to make a sequel better. And I don't think I'm gonna give up on this franchise just yet. And the first thing I think they can fix on MK1 is make Kano look like Jay Schlatt, or I swear to fucking God!